Hi everyone. I'm going to show you how to do an analysis called viewshed, and we're going to bring in some population data to go along with our viewshed. And it's analysis I hope we can do on several of our cores, and I'm going to do it on one, and I'll upload that for you and you can see it, but I'm going to show you how to do it here. Some of you may know all this, I don't know, but I think some of you it will be new. Little background. Yeah, here's a picture of the Ridge and Valley. We live in the Ridge and Valley province in Tennessee. You can see that typically what happens is the valleys are developed and the ridges tend to be less so. So what happens here is, in addition to this being a valuable ecological resource, a core, if you will, it's also an important cultural resource because it's part of the viewshed, or what people see from the valley. So from this valley, they see this nice intact ridge running, forested ridge running along here. So what we're going to look at, see if we can't figure out, is how many people in Clinton will pick one of our cores, and we'll see how many people in Clinton can see that core. And we can then use that data as another parameter for ranking our cores. If we have a core and thousands of people can see it as part of the viewshed, then that makes it more valuable than a core which a few people can see. To begin with, we are going to need to get our population data, and you can see I just Googled census tiger, and this is the first hit I got, so I'm going to go there. When I get there, I'm going to go to Tiger Line with selected demographic and economic data and then I'm going to go down here to the 2010 census, and I'm going to click on population and housing unit counts blocks. Blocks are the most detailed data we can get, and we're going to get that for Tennessee. When you click on that, it'll give you the file you're going to download. This will have all the census blocks for the state of Tennessee, along with population and housing data. I'm not going to download it because I've done that previously. And when I downloaded it, I put it in a folder called Census. I had some census data already, so I put it in a subfolder called Data 2010. This is the file that I downloaded once I unzipped it. It was not state plain, so I converted it to state plain, and that is this file that you see right here. Okay, I'll add it to my map, and you can see that it ends up looking like the state of Tennessee. I'm going to turn this off. One thing to note is, since the first layer I put into my frame was state plain, my frame is now also Tennessee state plain. So now every time I load a map, if it's already in state plain, I should not get the transformation warning. If it's not in state plain, then I will get the warning. But we want everything in state plain so that we're absolutely sure all our measurements and so forth are correct. I'm going to add data. I'm going to begin by adding my DEM for the area. And Annie has uploaded that for us. I think the one on the Google Drive is not in state plain. You guys might want to check, but I converted it to state plain, and that's what I will add here. You can see it there. It looks small, but let's zoom in. And there's my DEM. Sort of hard to see, but right here where that boot is in the Clinch River, this is Clinton. Okay, I'm going to change the symbology so it's a little easier to see. And I'm going to right click there, take it off a graphic view, and then I'm going to go select something called elevation 1, and that'll simply, I think, make this a little easier to see. I'm going to load Katie's cores, our core map that Katie produced. And I put that in a folder called Katie Core. And there it is. This is not the most recent edition, but all I need to do is see the cores, and there they are. I'm going to also load my contours. I have created a folder called Topo for them, and I've merged 4 sets of contours from 4 quads. Now, on the Google Drive, you guys have the Norris and, the Clinton and Powell contours merged. I also converted those to Tennessee State Plain, and that is this file here. So I'm going to add that, and there are my contours. I'm going to go to Katie's layer, and I'm going to make it to where I can see those shape files a little better. So now you can see those shape files. Okay, I'm gonna move it up there too, and that'll make them even more visible. Try to move it up there. There they are. Okay, I'm interested in this shape file in this core right here. It is on Pine Ridge. That's Pine Ridge. And this is Pine Ridge 3. There are 3 cores on Pine Ridge, and I'm looking at the most southwesterly one. I'm going to try to find me a nice high elevation point. This looks like about the highest point that I can see, and so I'm going to use that because it'll be the most visible from down below in the valleys. And what I'm going to do here is I am going to add some points, some markers. To do this, I've got my drawing map up. If you don't have your drawing toolbar up there, you can go to Customize and then Toolbars, go down to Draw and just click on it. And then that menu will be available and you can dock it up here where you can see it. But I'm going to go there. I'm going to take my marker and I'm going to put one somewhere here around this uppermost elevation point. I'm going to get me another one and put maybe down here somewhere, and get me another one and put down here somewhere. So now I've got 3 points, and at this point they're just drawings. So I am going to use the Convert Graphics to Features tool, and I don't like this name. Well, let's just go here and I'll show you. I've created a folder called viewshed. So within it, I'm just going to call this points. And I'm going to delete my graphics after I convert these things. Yes, I want to add it to the map. And at this point, you can see that I have a layer of points. Okay. At this point, then, what I want to do is do my first viewshed analysis. So I'm going to go up here to my search tool. I'm going to put in here viewshed. And I'm going to use the viewshed spatial analyst tool. Again, if this doesn't show up, go up here to Customize, and this time look under Extensions, and make sure you've checked the one that says Spatial Analyst. Otherwise, I don't think you'll be able to load that tool. Okay, my input raster is DEM2, is my DEM. My input point is going to be this set of points right here. I do not like the default output, so I'm going to call this view raster. That way I'll know it's a raster file when I go to look at it, and I'm going to run that. Okay, I paused the video while that was running. It took 30-40 seconds. And you can see that I've had a new layer added to my map called View Raster. it shows me two things, visible and not visible. Okay, and for right now, that's all I really need to do. I could go in and change the symbology stuff, but I don't really need to. What I am going to need to do eventually in order to merge this with my population data is I will need this as a feature file, not a raster. So I'm going, fortunately, there's a tool, and it will allow me to convert a raster to a polygon file or feature file. And there's the tool. And so my input raster is this, my view raster, what I called it. My output, I'm going to again give it a name. I'm going to call this viewshed. And when it runs, it will create a feature class. And I'm going to pause this while it runs so we don't have to wait. Okay, so that ran, and here are my points. Here's my new feature, my new polygon file, layer file that was added to this. And if I want to make more sense of it, I can change the symbology. It gives me a default symbology that's not very useful. And I will, first of all, I want this to be categories. And the field I'm interested in is the grid code. And when I add all values, you'll see that 0 is not visible. So I'm going to make that hollow. And these other three are all, they're points that are visible from one of my 3 points. So I'm not really interested in which point. I'm just going to group those values, and I'm going to set that to some color that I can see. I like green. So you can see what this is showing me is all the areas that are visible. Those green layers are the areas that are visible now from those points. And anybody living in those areas will have a view of those points on that ridge. At this point, I'm going to bring in my population data, which you'll notice, I mean, you remember I added that earlier, but I really didn't even have to. In order to do this, I'm going to run a tool called intersect. And I am going to add this file, and I'm going to add my population data, and I am going to tell it to put it here. I'm going to call this total population, top pop. And she is ready to run. Okay, at this point, I've got it automatically loaded a new file called top pop. I'm going to go to my properties in here and try to make more sense out of this. Check out my symbology. Again, I want categories. Oops, my bad, I didn't change my field here. I want this to be my grid code. Add the values. Again, this is ones I can't see. And again, I'm just going to, for my sake, group these and make them a color that I can see. I'll go with yellow this time. Okay, I'm going to turn off the view shed underneath here. I'm going to turn off Katie's cores. I don't need those. And I'm even going to turn off my contours for now. And I don't even need my view raster. Okay, so these yellow are the areas that we can see from my 3 points. The thing is, at this point, we have population data attached, and it's the population data for those areas. One of the problems we have at this point is, if you'll notice under the block ID, you see a lot of repeats, and the population is the same for all. What's happening is whenever I have little fragments of a viewshed show up within a same block, then that block records each one of those, and each time it's recorded, the population shows up. So right now, I would overestimate my population, if I just tried to see what it is. The way I'm going to solve that is there is a tool, and it is called delete identical. I'm going to run that tool. My data set will be total pop. And the field I'm interested in is the block ID 10. It's the field provided by the Census Bureau. I'm going to run this. Runs very quickly. Okay, that tool has run. And you'll see that it's changed the amount of yellow on the map. That's not a problem. It hasn't changed my basic data. And if I go to the attribute table now, you'll see that I do not have any duplicates on my block ID. My grid code still has some zeros. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select by attributes. I'm going to go with grid code not equal to 0, and it will select those records. And if I click on this, then I got just those selected records. None of these now have a value of 0. None of these now is a duplicate. If I go to pop 10 and I run statistics, it tells me that there are 43,539 people living within that view shed. Okay, pause it there for a minute. Okay, I'm going to clear all this selection, and I'll go back to my main data set. Now, one of the things is the city filers may only be interested in how many people within the city can see this. So the way we're going to handle that is we are going to do another intersect. I'm going to bring in the total pop that I've used. Now this already has the census data with it, so I don't need to bring in the census data again. I do need to add my city boundaries, and since I don't have them on my map, I'll have to go this way, and I keep them in a folder called municipal, and there is the file. I got it from the national map. I converted it to state plain, and I'm going to add that to this tool. I'm going to change my default, and I'm going to call this city pop. Pause. Okay, so that tool ran. It gave me a new layer called city pop. I'm going to turn off my total pop layer. Okay, I'm going to go to this attribute table, and I'm going to check. Notice I have zeros in my grid code. Okay, so I'm going to need to do that again. The other thing is I also have, I should not have blocks that repeat. We took care of that earlier. Notice my populations don't seem to repeat. But there is a field in here called, in my case, it's called FID City BO because I call this city boundaries. Yours would be FID whatever you happen to name your city file. Okay. Clinton has a value of 89. So all these values are in a city, probably Oak Ridge, and people in Oak Ridge can see our point there in the city of Clinton. So I'm going to select by attributes, and I am going to do like I did earlier and say grid code not equal to 0, and I'm going to go with my FID city boundaries equal to, and 89 is Clinton. I'm going to run this, and you'll see out of those 1,000 records, I've got 198. So these should all be within the city of Clinton, okay, all value 89, and there should not be any zeros over here in my grid code, and I don't see any. I don't see any 3s either, which is interesting. Now I can come to our pop 10, if I can find it, there it is, and I can run my statistics, and it tells me the sum is 6,994. So what this analysis tells me is that there are 6,994 people in the city of Clinton. That's almost 70% of the city's population that can see those points from the viewshed somewhere within the city limits. If I'm interested in people in general that can see it, I got a number of, we said earlier, 43,500 people could see it. But within the city, 6,900 people can see that. So that's that analysis. What would be nice is to get you guys to pick a different core than this one and run through that process. What we can do then is we can take that final number, create a table in our core file, Katie's cores, and we can put in that population number, and that will give us another criteria for ranking our cores. The cores with the greatest population in the viewshed are going to rank higher than cores with fewer people in the viewshed. Okay, I'm starting to get tongue-tied, so I'm going to quit. Hope that was helpful. Thank you, guys. See you. Bye-bye.